the Stoughton City Council meeting. It's Tuesday, November 15th of 2022. The first item of business will be the roll call. And whenever you're ready.
Hiley.
Here.
Hirsch. Here. Jensen.
Here.
Bagaki.
Here.
Bayaski.
Here.
Reeves. Here. Hunt.
Here.
Schumacher.
Here.
Polsky.
Here.
Caravello.
Here.
We have Venegas absent and excused, so we have 11 alders present.
All right, thank you, Candy. We have a full room tonight.
Frank.
Oh, Frank Raff.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Alderperson Raff is here. So we have a full room, so before we get started, I would ask anyone on Zoom, if you're not muted, please mute. And if you're in the room, please mute your cell phones. And having said that, we're going to do something special tonight before the meeting starts. We're going to celebrate what we believe will be a new tradition, and that would be the official promotional pinning of a promotion. And I'm just going to say a few words and then turn it over to President Hirsch and then eventually to Chief Jenks. Let me just say that the officers that are here tonight, I've had the honor and the privilege to get to know each of them, and I respect and appreciate the work they've done on behalf of the community, as well as all the officers, dispatchers, and support people in the PD. The work that they do each and every day keeps our community safe, and tonight we have an opportunity to celebrate that through the promotional pinning. President Hirsch.
Thank you, and welcome to the guests of our PD. I'm really excited that we're going to start this tradition. I like that our community gets to meet you. We get to interface with you. I think it's a great celebration for all your hard work and your dedication to our community. Like the mayor says, I cannot extend my gratitude to everything that you do for our community every single day. So thank you so much for all that. And I'm glad that we get to be part of your celebration tonight, along with your family members. I think it's a great honor. And congrats.
Go ahead, Chief.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you could remove your hats and please stand for a presentation of the colors by the Stoughton Fire Department Honor Guard. All right, please have a seat. Thank you, Mayor Swadley, Madam President Hirsch, and council members. Tonight, we are pleased to celebrate 4 promotions from earlier this year and celebrating tonight at council with a pinning ceremony. The first pinning of a badge occurs when the officer is first hired. The second pinning is when the officer is promoted. We are a department of deep standing traditions, and we are now adding the promotional pinning ceremony to that list. We are appreciative of conducting this in your chamber before an audience. I have a message to convey from the Police and Fire Commission President, John Lewis. He's unable to attend tonight, and this is for promotees. He wants to extend his congratulations to Lieutenant First Sergeant Hoper, Sergeant Olson, and Detective Sergeant on your well-deserved promotions. And he's thanking you for all your years of protecting our community and upholding the high standards of our department. I will now read each officer's name. Clerk Christian will read the oath, and their badge will be pinned by a loved one. Patrick Frisch started at the PD October 22nd, 1996. He was promoted to sergeant in September of 2003. In April this year, he was promoted to lieutenant of police. I now present Lieutenant Patrick Frisch. Clerk Christian is going to read the oath of office.
Please raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Patrick P. Frisch,
I, Patrick P. Frisch,
having been duly appointed
have been duly appointed
a City of Stoughton Lieutenant
the City of Stoughton Lieutenant
in and for the state of Wisconsin,
in and for the state of Wisconsin.
do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin.
and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin.
I will faithfully discharge the duties
I will faithfully discharge the duties
of Lieutenant of Police
of Lieutenant of Police
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my abilities.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Law enforcement oath of honor. Raise your right hand. On my honor, I will never
On my honor, I will never
betray my badge, my integrity,
betray my badge, my integrity,
my character, or the public trust.
my character, the public trust.
I will always have the courage to hold
I will always have the courage to hold
myself and others accountable
myself and others accountable
for our actions.
for our actions.
I will always uphold the Constitution,
I will always uphold the Constitution,
my community,
my community,
and the agency I serve.
and the agency I serve.
Cole Sargent. Cole started at the PD on June 9th, 2008. He was promoted to detective in April this year. May I present Detective Cole Sargent?
Right hand and repeat after me. I, Cole B. Sargent,
I, Cole B. Sargent,
having been duly appointed
have been duly appointed
a City of Stoughton Detective
the City of Stoughton Detective
in and for the state of Wisconsin,
in and for the state of Wisconsin,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin.
and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin.
I will faithfully discharge the duties
I will faithfully discharge the duties
of police detective to the best of my ability.
of police detective to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
On the law enforcement oath honor, on my honor, I will never
On my honor, I will never
betray my badge and my integrity,
betray my badge and my integrity,
my character, or the public trust.
my character, or public trust.
I will always have the courage to hold
I will always have the courage to hold
myself and others accountable for our actions.
myself and others accountable for our actions.
I will always uphold the Constitution,
I will always uphold the Constitution,
my community,
my community,
and the agency I serve.
and the agency I serve.
Congratulations.
Carson Hoper. Started here at the PD on July 30th, 2012. He was promoted to sergeant in May. Presents Sergeant Carson Hoper.
I, Carson B. Holder,
I, Carson B. Holder,
have been duly appointed a City of Stoughton Sergeant
having been duly appointed a City of Stoughton Sergeant
in and for the state of Wisconsin,
in and for the state of Wisconsin,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin.
and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin.
I will faithfully discharge the duties
I will faithfully discharge the duties
of police sergeant to the best of my ability.
of police sergeant to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Law enforcement oath of honor. Raise your right hand. On my honor, I will never
On my honor, I will never
betray my badge, my integrity,
betray my badge, my integrity,
my character, or the public trust.
my character, or the public trust.
I will always have the courage to hold
I will always have the courage to hold
myself and others accountable for our actions.
myself and others accountable for our actions.
I will always uphold the Constitution,
I will always uphold the Constitution,
my community,
my community,
and the agency I serve.
and the agency I serve.
And last but not least, Nathan Olson. He started at the PD on October 3rd, 2016, and he was promoted to sergeant in May. Sergeant Nathan Olson.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Nathan R. Olson,
I, Nathan R. Olson,
having been duly appointed
have been duly appointed
a City of Stoughton Sergeant
a City of Stoughton Sergeant
in and for the state of Wisconsin,
in and for the state of Wisconsin,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin.
and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin.
I will faithfully discharge the duties of
I will faithfully discharge the duties of
police sergeant to the best of my ability.
police sergeant to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Law enforcement oath of honor. On my honor, I will never
On my honor, I will never
betray my badge, my integrity,
betray my badge, my integrity,
my character, or the public trust.
my character, or public trust.
I will always have the courage to hold
I will always have the courage to hold
myself and others accountable for our actions.
myself and others accountable for our actions.
I will always uphold the Constitution,
I will always uphold the Constitution,
my community,
my community,
and the agency I serve.
and the agency I serve.
Congratulations.
All right, thank you, Candy. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. And that ends our pinning ceremony.
Congratulations. Can we have a round of applause? Thank you again for sharing this experience with us, and congratulations. You guys are well deserved. Thank you.
that really was a privilege to witness that. So
Wasn't it?
happy that we saw it.
Oh, we went from a full house to a half house here. That was a big crowd. That was amazing.
We get to go have cake. That's
Oh, yeah, I don't think we'll be done in time. We'll get into our meeting here for our order of business. The minutes and reports are in the packet, and the next item up would be public comment. So we have two items on tonight. We have public comment, and we have public hearing. And so people are signed up, and I think the easiest way to do this would be to give people the choice. I can call off names, and you can either come up now, or you can wait until later when we get into the budget hearing. There will be a presentation before the budget hearing. It'll be brief, but I'll give folks a choice. That way, I want to respect your time in case you have places to go tonight. Our rules basically are at public comment. Each speaker has up to 3 minutes to speak. We ask that you respect that, and that your comments are, clear and limited, and respectful. Nothing gets personal here, and we'll hear comments from folks on. I believe everybody signed up for the same issue tonight. So I'm going to try to go as much as I can in the order that I received them. Some people filled out their application online. Others filled out their form when they came in tonight. So just bear with me. I'm not sure if everybody that signed up is in the room or on Zoom. So we'll see how this goes. The first person that did sign up was Charles Bucksweeney. So if you would wish to speak. Pardon me?
I'll talk after the budget is presented.
Okay, that's fine. Just let me make a note. The next person would be Ethan. Are you available? Are you in the room? You want to speak now or later?
Now,
Okay, come on up to the microphone. If you want to just state your name and then
Address.
your address, I think we have, and then you might want to just pull the microphone up to make sure everybody here and in Zoom land and on WSTO can hear you.
Sure.
And
Does
then
that
the
sound
clerk-
good?
You have 3 minutes, and the clerk will keep time. She has flashcards here, so when we get down toward the end, she can give you kind of a warning, and let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
You're ready? Go ahead, Ethan.
Sounds good, thanks. My name is Ethan. I am a resident of Stoughton. I am here to offer support for the removal of the dam at 4th Street and the subsequent building of the whitewater park that goes in there. This dam is huge, and it's many things. The removal of it is significant for the waterways around here, the Ohio River. Restores natural resources, brings balance back to the river. The fish biodiversity would increase, the fish population would increase, great for fishermen. Looking at the Baraboo River as a prime example of this, 20 years ago, 4 dams were removed, and the fish population has come back to historic levels, and there's no reason to expect that that wouldn't be the same here. From that river is stunningly gorgeous. It is a beautiful river. While our river as is also beautiful, there's no reason to say that that wouldn't be the same with the removal of the dam. Further, following the dam removal, the building of the whitewater park here would draw incredible crowds from all over the state, from surrounding states, as other whitewater parks in Illinois and Iowa do. These are people that would come to Stoughton, offer tourism, eat at our restaurants, drink at our bars, and participate in local events. The draw here, it remains to be seen, but it's a huge community that has been demanding a park like this in south central Wisconsin, and Stoughton is primed and poised to bring all those people here. In addition, you get tons of people from Milwaukee, tons of people from Chicago that will come and participate in this. And you know, the dam is kind of unsightly right now, and there's a lot of opportunity for a really impactful park. Thank you.
Thank you. And then if you're on Zoom land, if you can just make sure that when you unmute your microphone, you can turn on your camera when you speak. That'll be great. The next person that signed up is Adam.
Hello. Can you hear me and see me?
We can, thank you.
So I just want to reiterate Ethan's view. I am also in support of the water park. I think it would offer a fantastic opportunity for Stoughton by drawing in people locally. I myself, a lot of folks in this area will go up to Wausau or Black River Falls or some other areas, but we typically have to drive quite a ways to enjoy these opportunities. And something like this, I personally would appreciate having a much shorter commute. I think it would be a great opportunity for Stoughton, drawing in local people from Madison, Milwaukee, as in outside states, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, people would be coming in. So I just wanted to indicate my interest in having this personally, and I think that Stoughton would benefit greatly by having this park. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person that signed up was Dan. Dan B.
Hey everyone, name's Dan Bowers. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
I am following the sentiments of Adam and Ethan about a whitewater park and dam removal on the Yahara River. Primarily due to the Yahara River and all rivers being free-flowing, the species of fish, just to help the waterway itself. But selfishly, I am a whitewater paddler. I drive sometimes up to 6-7 hours to go other places to do this sport and promote the sport. I live in Madison, Wisconsin, so having this in such a local place like Stoughton would definitely draw me there, and think about moving there as well. Simply put, dams like the one that's there can be dangerous, can limit the use of the river. Opening this river up, while it may not be Olympic level or could be, would open the river up to people being able to go down it, young tubers to recreational paddlers being able to bypass the dam and access parts of the river that maybe they weren't before, but also us whitewater paddlers and hopefully new whitewater paddlers being able to get out there and enjoy a sport that I've loved for the last 10 years of my life, been very important to me. For example, helping out with Wausau and their whitewater park, we draw up to sometimes 200 plus paddlers to a release weekend. It's gone really well for Wausau, and we hope the same for Stoughton. I know a big worry is, what is this dam removal going to do to the water levels, maybe on the river below or under? The city of Stoughton, to what I can see, has done amazing tests, had really smart people on this, and we're seeing a very minute water change. I think it's more beneficial to see all the development, experience, and livelihood that can be brought to downtown Stoughton with a park like this, where I see it in Charles City, where I see it in Yorkville, Illinois, where I see it in Wausau and Black River. Lots of great opportunities, and I'm really excited for what can be done there. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Robert. Is Robert available? Robert's here.
All right, thank you. My name is Robert Pleva. I'm from Janesville, Wisconsin, and I'm here. I am a paddler. I'm a stand-up paddleboard paddler. I do whitewater on the stand-up paddleboard. and provide entertainment for the people that I came to speak for. And those are not the paddlers, because the paddlers only make up about 25% in my experience at the parks that I've gone to, which several of the Iowa parks, Whitewater Park up in Wausau, and some of the other dam releases as far up as Duluth, Minnesota. I paddle all over the country, down in Tennessee, in the Ozarks, and what I see up here in Wisconsin, what I see is people who don't paddle at these parks. People who go get a cup of coffee and a donut at the local shop. People who grab a hamburger or a sandwich at the local deli. And they come down and they sit down and they enjoy the river. Not because they're in a boat, but because of what the river does. When you have moving water that makes the sounds that you will have here in Stoughton if you open this river up to Whitewater, you'll have that person coming down who's had a horrible day come down to the river and find their peace. I think a lot of us here who are here, who may even be against this, will find your peace down by the water. Because the river isn't just about paddling. The river's about bringing our lives into focus, bringing them into a peacefulness, enjoying the river for what it does for us spiritually. I love to paddle. I love the water. And I know that those of you who are here love your river. The Yahara River is a beautiful river. And to see it open up and to watch the waters clear, to see the pond scum and the algae that plagues this area start to disappear, and that's what you'll see. You'll see the water clear up. The fish will appreciate it. And I'm a fisherman, so I love to fish. And you got a great opportunity if you get those walleyes coming up from the Rock River, where they like to spawn in the Yahara, because it is a perfect spawning river. You'll see some beautiful fish coming up here too if you're a fisherman. So I'm speaking for those people who will find that 60 to 75% of the people who will be at your park. They will be enjoying it. And maybe they'll see me coming down the river and either they'll laugh because I just made the biggest wipeout they've ever seen, or they'll be in awe because somebody can ride a board 9.5 feet long, 3 feet wide, coming down the river. So I hope you'll do it. I hope you'll do it for the community, for the people on Main Street, so they can see more people. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up is Willie. Yeah, I think Willie is online. Willie H., are you available?
Have to unmute.
Right now you're muted and I can't see you. All right. Well, we'll keep moving and maybe we'll come back. Next would be Peter. Yep, there he is. Go ahead, Peter. Yep, I can hear you.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to speak. As Dan said, I'm also a whitewater paddler, so I kind of have selfish reasons for desiring this park to be developed. In addition to that, I volunteer extensively with a veterans kayaking group called Team River Runner. Annually, we have an event at Wausau Whitewater that really the park allows for us to offer a safe and controlled space for people that want to get into the sport, discover the sport. And year after year, it draws people from Iowa, Chicago, Milwaukee, Minnesota. So really, the tourism draw is undeniable. It's not uncommon, according to a friend of mine who's on the board of the Wausau Whitewater Park, for them to see 150 to 200 people per weekend up there. And, 4 hours plus, people are willing to drive for a reliable spot to practice and enjoy their sport. Additionally, I spoke to a cousin of mine this afternoon who is the previous director of the recreation district in Cascade, Idaho. and was responsible for helping to develop the Kelly's Whitewater Park out there. And that's proven to be very successful for them. It allows for a safe place to teach younger kids. They host a handful of competitions, and from what she told me, there is a ton of out-of-state travel that happens because of that park, and it's a small town. I think the economic reasons alone make this a no-brainer. And as Dan said, you know, dams are dangerous, and I think it would be a positive thing all the way around, you know, for businesses in the area, for people that want to enjoy this sport. I live in Milwaukee, and I can tell you, I would be there most weekends. So that's what I have to say, and I thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Next I had Julie.
All right, can you see and hear me?
We can, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. My name is Julie Mead. I am from Janesville, Wisconsin, born and raised. I've been paddling in whitewater for just a little bit over 2 years. This sport has brought so many people into my life and so many opportunities. I've paddled all over the Midwest, the West, and the Southeast. I've made lifelong friends because of this sport. I have attended multiple paddling competitions at whitewater parks across the United States. This not only draws paddlers from all over, but spectators as well. Events like this are a great thing for the community as it brings profit, vendors, and individuals that may not come to the area. Some struggles that myself and other paddlers face. For me personally, the closest play parks are at least 2 to 3 hours away. This includes Wausau, various parks in Iowa, and in Chicago. The closest river is above a class 2, again, is at least a 2 to 3 hour drive, and this is water dependent. So even being able to get on water can be expensive and time consuming. The sport requires a lot of dedication to get better. With a play park within an hour distance, or 30 minutes for me, this will greatly increase my time and my fellow paddling friends' time on water. Another struggle due to distance to closest whitewater park is lack of paddlers. Besides Robert, who spoke earlier, I am the only whitewater kayaker in Janesville, and that's a town of 65,000. I really want to see the sport grow. This play park will give access to individuals that are interested in the sport but really have no access to this type of water. I would also love to see more females join the sport. Access to a local play park would accomplish this. Just like other paddlers that are on this call or in this event tonight, Wausau is a really big essential part of our community. At Wausau yearly, there's Kids on Water, there's the Team River Runner event getting the vets on water, there's Boy Scout trainings that go there, and literally every other weekend during the summer, it feels like almost like a family reunion. We people from all over the Midwest, the UP, Minnesota, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, we're all meeting up at Wausau and camping and just being able to just be together and like we'll eat together, we'll paddle together, and just you get to meet so many people. And how amazing would it be to have something like this within like our community? Whitewater is literally just probably the best thing that's ever happened to me. And if we have this play park, it would really mean a lot to so many people. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Sandra, is Sandra available? Okay.
Hi.
Oh. Yep, I can hear you and see you.
Can you hear me? Yeah, hi. I'm also a whitewater paddler, and I actually have a paddling school for whitewater, and I get so many requests from people who want to do lessons, but they want to do them in this area without having to travel really far north. So I think a lot of people have said all the things I would say about how excited I would be about this personally, but I guess I want you all to know that I think you really would bring an incredible community to your community if you had whitewater available in your community. The people who I encounter as both paddling friends and students are just really an amazing group of people and bring a lot to the communities that we go to, that we spend time in. we like to make a point of supporting the communities that we visit. So I just wanted to say, I think it would be an incredible addition to your town, as well as an incredible addition to our lives and our ability to be able to do our sport.
Thank you. Willie, are you available? Okay.
Yes, unmute, maybe doesn't know how to unmute.
Yeah, Willie, if you're there, if you could unmute and turn on your camera. If not, we'll just move on. All right, we're moving on. Next up, and as I mentioned earlier, you can either speak now or at the public hearing. Next up would be Dennis Kittleson. Dennis is here.
I'll speak now.
All right.
Dennis Kittleson, 109 East Taft Street, Stoughton, Wisconsin. I'm actually opposed to the Whitewater Park. It was a Whitewater Park, then became the Yahara River Park. I really think it's just kind of like a rabbit hole. Earlier when it came out, it was going to be grants, and then it was going to be fundraising. There's a lot of speculation of all the people that have spoke before, whether they're on Zoom or in the room, that they're going to come here and enjoy the community. Have they spent any time in our community before any of this comes in? The only thing I bring up the point is that a lot of times during Set in Mai, there's a lot of people that get super frustrated because there isn't any place to park, you can't go here, you can't go there. And with all the people that are claimed to be coming to this Whitewater Park, where are they going to go? Where are they going to be? How are they going to park? How are they going to access? When are they going to leave? You know, there's a lot of logistics that goes on with this. And I just don't think you're making the right choice by putting $2 million into it. If they want it so bad, and so many people want it, they can all pony up. People can send money in. You know, if you want a fundraiser to bring it, have them do the fundraiser to bring it. Let them spend their money. I don't want to spend my tax money on it. There's a lot of better things we could do. A case in point would be up and down Main Street, all the crosswalks, they all could have lights. I mean, it's getting to be ridiculous when people don't press the lights or on the other side, but we're going to spend money here when we could do public safety at first. Sorry, folks, but I don't think it's the right move. Thank you.
Thank you. Next would be Peggy Kiss. Is Peggy's here?
I know there's a great generational gap between most of those speakers and myself, but I do agree with Dennis. And I have a question on my mind. We have a wonderful Norwegian cultural center in town, Livsreise, but we should try to attract more people to come to that center. Those are the folks who are going to frequent our lovely shops downtown Stoughton, not kayakers or whitewater rafters. Instead of taxing the citizens of Stoughton another $2 million for something that has no benefit, you could spend a little to fill the halls of that lovely Norwegian Culture Center. There would only be losses from spending that $2 million to demolish the dam and build the Whitewater Park. Loss of property value, loss of vegetation, loss of wildlife, loss of beauty, and foolish loss of our increased tax money. And I could just go on and on. I see no benefits, absolutely none. Transfer your interest to something we already have, but could use a boost in support. Livsreise. If your plan is pushed through without a referendum, to get the desires of the people of Stoughton, then I don't think we live in a democracy. That would be dictatorship. So please think about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next would be Bob Dybel. Bob's here.
Good evening. Bob Dybel, 316 Grant Street, and I'm a member of the Whitewater Steering Committee. I have a few remarks about the Whitewater Park. The Whitewater
Can you
Park.
move the mic up a little bit?
Oh, sure, it's a little low. Okay.
Not long enough.
I know.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. The Whitewater Park will be an exciting recreational asset, unique in southern Wisconsin, that will attract new people to town and provide economic benefit to the whole city. Much as the Opera House has made Stoughton a popular destination, the Whitewater Park would also make Stoughton a more desirable place to visit. Paddlers, inner tubers, and their friends and families would patronize local businesses. In addition, the park would help draw young families to move to the city. Removing the dam, an integral step in the project, is a good idea for several reasons. The Yahara River would be restored to its natural, healthy, free-flowing condition. When the dam is removed, water quality, fish habitat, and wildlife habitat, all improve. There is a movement all across the country to remove dams that are no longer serving their original purpose. The Wisconsin DNR provides grant money to communities for dam removal. There are no grants for building or repairing dams, and for good reason. Dams are harmful to the health of rivers. The stagnant green water we see every summer would be greatly improved by dam removal. I realize some people are concerned about water levels being lower after the dam is removed, but the levels will not be as low as some people say. The same volume of water will flow down the Yahara after the dam is removed as does now. The river will not become a creek. For those concerned with the appearance of the riverbanks, visits to two sites where dams have already been removed on the Yahara, the former Stebbinsville Dam and the former Fulton Dam, will show how attractive the banks of a free-flowing, lively Yahara can be. Coshinon Creek at Rockdale is another example of a beautiful river restoration following dam removal. I believe this is an opportunity that Stoughton should not miss out on. A Whitewater Park will benefit the community, enhance Stoughton's appeal, and restore the river to its natural, free-flowing state, a win-win outcome. I urge you to stay the course on this wonderful project. Thank you.
Next is Jerry Peterson.
Jerry Peterson. I lived in Stoughton all my life.
Just pull the mic down a scale.
And
There you go.
you people don't realize that when you take the dam out, you're not going to have a lot of water. And I have one thing to say is, if you would want to see what it's going to be like to have to take the dam out, have somebody lower the dam and see what happens to all the property around, going from here up to B, and see what happens to the water. There will be no water out in that bay on B. There won't be no water out in the ditches where they ice fish. There won't be no water behind the hospital. You'll have one creek. I've seen it done twice, and the park will not work. They can have the park, but they don't take the dam out. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up would be Sharon.
I'm going to wait for the public hearing.
Okay. You and Buck can arm wrestle to see who goes first. How's that sound? Lane Close.
My name is Lane Close. I live at 208 North Lynn Street, which is a couple of blocks off the river, up by the hospital. I have lived there for over 35 years, so I have experience with what the river has provided and what it has been and what it has meant to my life. A lot of the people that talked here, I noticed, have an agenda enthusiasm, and most of them don't live in this city. And I appreciate their enthusiasm because it seems to be honest and it seems to be, well-founded. The problem I have is that I think that the idea to create a park across from Man Park on the river is a good idea. I don't endorse taking out the dam. Part of the reason being is that we're not rewilding the Yahara River. The dam at Tenney Park in Madison will not go away. The dam in McFarland will not go away. The dam below us in is not going away. So we're not rewilding a river, we're just taking out one dam. This is not going to change the ecological fish populations of the river because there's still going to be dams in their way to go up and down. So that's kind of a fallacy. I appreciate everybody having enthusiasm for seeing that, but I don't see it happening. I don't think it will. The other thing being is that I have a lot of concerns about what we do when we take out the dam and the changes that we've made. Now, obviously, the dams have been on the Yahara River for a long time. We have changed that ecology for at least probably 70, 80, maybe 100 years. I'm not really sure when all those dams went in. Now, that ecology has been there for that time. If we take the dam out, we are now changing it again. This is something that we really don't often have a good handle on what the unintended consequences will be. And I ask that there be much caution taken. I know there's been studies, and they say we're going to remediate the mud flats in the mill ponds and everything like that. But I will leave you with one quote from Blue Oyster Cult. History has shown again and again how nature points out the folly of man. Think about that, and we need to look at more of what this may entail when we do this. I don't think the income will cover it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Kurt.
Kurt Byfield. I live in Stoughton. I've lived here for over 50 years. And one thing I've noticed over those years is the stretch of the river over by Mant Park, pretty much through town, is a dead zone. There's very little activity on that. In the nicest days of summer, you can go down to the Mant Park area, to the dam area, and there's maybe half a dozen to a dozen people fishing, and Mant Park itself is empty. Aside from 2 weeks of the year, Mant Park doesn't get utilized. I'm not a water person. I don't like canoes. I don't like boats. I will not be using the water park, but I am a cyclist, and I ride thousands of miles in the Dane County area throughout the summer and winter. One thing I've noticed is at various parking spots, like the one at N&B by the county garage, down on Casey Road by the bridge, over in Cooksville, at all these various sites by bridges and areas where you can put in, there's a significant number of cars and trucks. If you go up to the parking lot at N&B in the summer, it's completely full of people who've put in kayaks and canoes. And they're all going up and down the river one direction or the other. Prior to coming here tonight, I fired up an activity tracking application called Strava. I'm pretty sure Phil's familiar with it. And you can track your activity, biking, running, hiking, including kayaking. And when you look at that, you can bring up what's called a heat map, which shows all the data covering whatever area you're in going back to the origination of the app. So there's probably 10, 15 years worth of data in there. And you can see where people have tracked on the river. And it stops dead at the railroad bridge by Cooper's Causeway up there, and it picks up again at the Dunkirk Dam. The stretch in between is just blank. Nobody comes through here. And I feel that if we take this opportunity to revitalize that, to get rid of the dam, to improve Mant Park, to improve the parkland east of the dam, those people who are currently putting in at N&B, at Cooksville, at Casey, Badfish Creek, all these other locations, are going to see this as a place you can put in. You can't really do it now at Mant Park. The drop off on the shore to the water is too great. But if we make that a usable opportunity, if we make that an environment where people can come in and utilize the water, they're going to come here instead of those other places. And when they're done, they're going to stay here, they're going to be hungry, they're going to be thirsty, they're going to need fuel, and they're going to grab those things on their way out of town. Currently, they're just getting in their vehicles, maybe they come here, but a majority of them are probably going home or heading to Madison or somewhere like that. I feel that as a citizen, this is a huge economic opportunity for the community as a whole to bring some revitalization to that part of town and to bring more financial prosperity to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I had that signed up. Did we miss anybody?
Yeah.
Come on up. If you want to just give us your name and so we can.
I don't live in Stoughton, so you guys can shame me for that.
Well, that's okay. We're glad you're here anyway.
Yeah. I'm Eugene Freedy, and I live down on County Road N in Dunkirk. So, nice little town. But anyways, I want to speak on behalf of the kayakers. I farm down there. Our property goes up against the river. And we have kayakers all summer long going up and down that river, mainly going down it. Some of them just stop it. We have a little landing, and some of them just stop there. You know, we don't really care. Got a couple of chairs down there, you know. So, but these are all good people, and I've noticed something about them. Is they're all ages. You know, you get from young people, you got the seniors like myself, and I see that they really enjoy the river, and I think it was Kurt was speaking about that. I myself kayak with my wife, my son, my daughter. It's a family event when I get time. Most time I don't have time. But anyways, I went on the internet and started looking at sites that where there were dams and they were taken out and they were revitalized. And it was really interesting. And I thought to myself, geez, if this could happen in downtown Stoughton, I mean, it would be a big plus for this community. And, you know, and people talk about taxation and revenues. You know, I think that a park permit would be feasible. You know, generate some revenues. I'm sure a lot of people would come. And you see it. You see it. We go down to Stevensville, go down to Fulton. You know, we just see everybody, and like I said, over on Highway B, and then going from McFarland, you go from McFarland down to B. I mean, it's a great opportunity to make a good change for down here, because, you know, like I said, it's just sitting there right now. And that dam, I mean, how much longer is the dam going to last? And what's it really doing? We got a dam above us in Dunkirk. And we watch the water level down below us, and we say, well, if they ever took that dam out, what would it be like? Well, it would probably revert back to its natural habitat, which is not a bad thing. To me, I mean, that's man made the changes. If we put it back to where it was, maybe it's going to be a little bit better. Who knows? I looked at the engineers' calculations of water flow and water levels. I don't see a big change there that's really going to be affecting these people that live from here up the river. So it looks pretty good to me. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else that, come on up.
Didn't get a chance to put my thing in better.
That's fine. Come on up. You're here. We're going to hear from you.
Good, thank you.
You bet.
Yeah, I'm listening to all, I'm Ed Schultz. I live out near Hara Road in Stoughton, and I'm on the river up at the bay. And listening to everything that's been said, yes, I guess it's a good idea that Stoughton does this based on what you've heard. But please, don't destroy the upriver habitat that we've got. It's just priceless. It's beautiful. And I mean, you can look on the internet. People have talked about this ad nauseum, and I don't have to go over it again. But it's beautiful. So if there's some way that you can ensure keeping the water levels where they are, that would be magnificent. But to remove the dam, if there's a decrease in the water level, you said something like between 6 inches to a foot. At my place, that means that the water would recede probably a couple of 100 feet out, and we just have a mud flat. So I implore you to please come up with some sort of a plan whereby we can maintain the water levels upstream, and you can have your water park as well. Because, as I said, That's really a significant part of this area. That is the bay north of B. And we shouldn't lose that for all the reasons that have been said before. It's just a beauty. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else?
Oh, we have a hand back.
Okay, we have one in the back.
Hello, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. I am a kayaker. I am a part of the whitewater community.
Can you state your name?
My name is Josh Freedy. I'm a whitewater kayaker. I'm part of the whitewater kayaking community, and I'm here to say that you guys would be a bastion in a desert land for our sport. This is an Olympic sport. I recently was down in the Carolinas watching a 17-year-old girl who is part of our Olympic team, the United States Olympic team, practicing in a whitewater park down there. So this is an opportunity for the Midwest to give our youth the ability to participate in a sport that could possibly land them in the Olympics. Another thing I have to say is that I drive all over the place and spend tons of money wherever I go, eating food and enjoying the sights of places. And I think for Stoughton, this would be a good opportunity to make money and bring people to this area and put Stoughton on the map. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seems like most everyone in here. Oh, come on up. They're hiding back there.
Sorry for joining late, but my name is Dana Grupentrug. I am 30 years old, just moved to Stoughton last year in December, kind of because I heard about the opportunity that Stoughton might have to make this happen. I've been around the world kayaking, surfing, canoeing, and I travel to those places solely to do that and then also enjoy the area. Ecotourism is a growing economy all around the world, and people travel to places to recreate. And I think this is a really awesome opportunity for this community to embrace that. And I think it'll bring, revitalize the area. It provides a great opportunity for people who are older, younger, all ages. I think it's very accessible, and I think it would be a great opportunity for this community to embrace. And so I just want to once again say that I have been in those communities, and I know people that travel all over the place just to experience something that they can't experience in their communities possibly. And I wholeheartedly endorse this opportunity for Stoughton. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dina? Oh, there's somebody in the back.
Come on up.
And there's like a Denise Cantz. I think that just popped up.
I don't know her.
This is not my forte. I don't like public speaking. My name is Pam Close. I live at 208 North Lynn Street. We have lived in Stoughton for over 35 years. We've raised 3 kids here. And I'm against what you're doing for several reasons. First of all, none of us in our neighborhood heard anything about this until one of us heard and spread it on. And if this was going on all this time, why didn't we get any notification about it? Number one. Number two, I am concerned about the mudflats that are behind Uniroyal, and is that the only one? If we lower the water and we lower it low enough that all of the contamination and the industrial runoff that has been sediment for so many years now has to do something. What's it going to do? It'll dry up and it'll come through the air. Number 3, I think I'm on 3. I've watched, when I first moved here, we very rarely saw a lot of different birds in our area. We're right by the river. We now get the cranes, osprey, incredible amounts of different kinds of fowl that live in the areas on the river. And, you know, I have been told that there are studies out there. They are not necessarily ours. And maybe that's wrong, I don't know. But I think that we need to look at the whole thing. It shouldn't be just about money. This is our community. This is our home. It has finally come back from where it was. I mean, when we first moved here, that was kind of a dumpy area down there by the river. And the gentleman who wanted to know how long your dam would last, I believe it's been 5 years ago, we spent $550,000 to make that dam workable and to make it efficient. And the Department of Natural Resources told us that it was good for another 50 years at least. So that's how long that dam is going to be good for. We're going to spend $2,000 of taxpayer money, but the taxpayers, do they even know about it? Is there a referendum about it? Is this the best way to spend our money? I would say you're going to bring more people, more young people into the community if we work on getting services here that will accommodate them. There is one pediatrician at Dean, one, and he's getting ready to retire. There's no OBGYN. We have other places we could use our money. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room? All right, anybody else on Zoom wish to speak?
Roger.
Roger?
Oh, Roger? All right.
Yeah, Roger Springman, 812 Creedeman, and I've been following this project for 4 years, and I've been very impressed by what the city has done to mitigate the adverse impacts of the project. By training, I'm a natural resource analyst, and I've done a lot of work nationwide on different projects. And what stood out to me from the beginning was not just the fact that we had a winning idea here in the Whitewater Park, but having traveled to Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is probably America's most successful urban whitewater park, and then also gone to Iowa to see one of the Iowa parks, I saw what it takes to do a park well, Whitewater Park. And then when I came back then from those visits over the last couple of years and saw what the city has done to try to both mitigate the risk and impacts of the project on the riverway itself, control the contamination that may be in the river by the Uniroyal area by capping off and sealing some of those old nutrients and materials that have been on the riverbed, and then looked at the impact of what this project can do for the economy of the city, and more importantly, having been a high school teacher years ago, understood that kids, our families, need a great resource place to get families together to do outdoor activities. And having rafted the Grand Canyon and done different kayak trips in Wisconsin and different places, I can tell you, in my opinion, rafting and whitewater experience and just river experience in general is one of the most successful ways families can do things together, especially in a controlled environment like the Whitewater Park is going to be. So I've been enthusiastic about the park from the beginning. I'm enthusiastic now. I want the city to stay the course, and the dam will not be totally torn out. Recall that what we're going to have there is a surf wave that will have a flexible barrier there to help control water levels. So we will not be dropping the river that much overall. There will be shifts according to season, but we will have a river that functions well, that'll be cleaned up, that'll be great for families, and we're all going to be very proud of it and glad that Stoughton is back on the map as a place for tourism and a place for families to enjoy our outdoor environment in a way that could never have been imagined 5 or 6 years ago. So I'm enthusiastic about it. I'm going to stay enthusiastic, and I would like to see the project go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on Zoom? Last call in the room.
There's
Oh,
somebody
one more.
back.
Come on up.
Sorry to keep you guys here.
My name is Sarah Sampson. I am a kayaker and whitewater sport enthusiast. I guess keep hearing all these things about that it's going to ruin the river and it's not going to have as much water in it, it's going to ruin the water quality. And I really think I've been to multiple whitewater parks, and I think that most kayakers and whitewater sport enthusiasts agree that any detriment to the river is a detriment to the sport. We can't go out and do our thing on the river if there's no water in it or the water is polluted or unclean. It's a lose for us as well, and that's not, I don't think, anybody's intention who wants this park here is to degrade the river in any type of way. We want to see it more free-flowing and usable for the whole community, and I think it would be a real win for Stoughton. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else? All right, we're not going to go around the room twice. Thank you all for coming tonight and voicing your opinions and doing it respectfully. We really do appreciate that. We do have some other business to get into. If you want to leave now, you can certainly leave. If not, you're welcome to stay for another hour or two anyway. I'll give you a chance if you want to leave to go before we get into our business.
Should we do like a 5-minute break for everybody that's been?
Sure. You guys want to take 5 or?
Sure. May as well.
Okay, we'll take a few minute break then. Thank you. Okay, you can have these, and then we'll get you all. Some of them we got, some of them they sent to Dan or Regina, or they signed up on the Whitewater one.
I may be the biggest fan. It could be. So I guess I scored it's an ugly dam. For that reason, I'm good with it. And I'm just like, it's still going to be a river. And I really enjoyed the last one with you. A lot of people would miss it. Water. Yeah, that's why we're going to build the water park because I don't want the dam, the bay to be affected. I do know that's paddle down to Division Street. I don't think I want all that to be preserved because I want to put my kayak on it. No, I think really is a present. A lot of effort has gone into figure it out. Come on down. I was just telling her once we get a class. Just work on a few more. This week goes away. I look at it and go, I think we should look at it. It's all these people are talking about how she's a U.S. citizen. Because now on water that connects them, they can put in. Trying to figure out how to. Here might not be potentially. There might be another trail. It's like if it does anything, I think it's going to go out. They might be. I think early on I heard those things happen. I get I will be the first one to look at you like, man, you made a big area. You're asking the right questions. I just hope all the I don't
beyond 2 years. But I hope it doesn't lose its allure. I hope, because I think eventually, but I don't know. I really understand, will it see enough? They will do it. If it does, you're going to be surprised.
We used to go down to Wingra and rent it. Not like skateboarding.
I wouldn't trust it. Yeah.
You know, I'm just like, no, it's and we get rid of the gross water. The spill.
I guess.
When I go down there in the summertime, I'm just like, it's gotta go.
Perfect, I appreciate that. Yeah, I can
Certainly, based on what we heard tonight, it's probably
It was 15, yes, 5 no.
Things happen.
The industries that they built the dam for are all along they built it for all that industry. They really built it for wagon works, generate electricity. Dynamo was in that, but it wasn't doing it. That's true.
But they removed forward.
I'm sorry.
Are you recovered?
Getting there. I have just a cold, you know, so my ears are, but it's still. Oh, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
But you're recovered from last week.
You do know.
No, that's okay. I got fingerprinted. Background check.
Oh, yeah.
I think I was right on board with you.
We'll reconvene in about a minute.
I don't know. I think he was just saying that they needed that much. But that was interesting.
Oh, I bet you would.
I'm losing power. That plug-in was working because it was plugged in before, well, got bumped or that's too.
So the only two I have left are Buck
When I
and
turned it
Sharon.
on, it was definitely, I don't know what I still got 59%. Hopefully I can get home before that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I didn't want you to be shocked by the
Oh,
number.
yeah,
I don't
no,
really
that's
have
okay.
any.
All right, did we lose anyone? Okay.
Thanks, Greg. We
All
were just
right.
waiting on you.
Oh, we're down to about 3/4 of the room, so. Next item on the agenda is communications and presentations. Are there any communications from alders? Alderperson Hunt.
Just a personal thing, I would like to thank Candy and the whole clerk team for the way the election went. It was interesting to be a part of it for the first time and all of the energy and effort that went into it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Candy.
All right, and we'll be getting an update shortly. Any other communications from alders?
Yes, Mayor.
Oh, go ahead.
Hey, November is Native American Heritage Month. And in honor of that, I just would like to read a very short land acknowledgement that we have done at some of our meetings.
Go ahead.
The city of Stoughton occupies ancestral Ho-Chunk land, a place their nation has called a joke since time immemorial. In an 1832 treaty, the Ho-Chunk were forced to cede this territory. Ethnic cleansing followed when both the federal and state government repeatedly but unsuccessfully sought to forcibly remove the Ho-Chunk from Wisconsin. This history of colonization can inform our work for an inclusive and just future. Today, we respect the inherent sovereignty of the Ho-Chunk Nation, of the 11 other First Nations of Wisconsin, and all of our First Nations in our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other communications from alders? And we have one communication from Director Shield.
The council will recall we were authorized to submit a grant for a stormwater hydrodynamic separator that'll actually improve stormwater quality before it enters the river near the riverfront redevelopment area. We were successful in that grant and we received the paperwork today. That was a $138,000 grant award. In addition, it looks favorable for the Dane County grant for that same project. We haven't received official word, but we're optimistic that we'll receive a balance of $189,000 from that grant as well. So, good news.
Thank you, Rodney. Excellent. Woohoo!
All right. And Kelly LaPointe is here tonight to give us an update. And while she's walking up, I'll try to get this queued up for you here. And let me just share my screen here for the Zoomers, and then we'll get you started. And then you can just tell me when to advance the slides. Yeah, right there it is.
All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone. I am Callie LaPointe, the Events and Visitor Services Manager at Stoughton Chamber of Commerce. I run two distinctively different roles at the Chamber events such as Centennial and Coffee Break, and then tourism through the Visitor Services Department of the Stoughton Chamber of Commerce. Tonight, I am here to present the annual marketing activities from Visit Stoughton of Visitor Services. The Visitor Services is funded by hotel tax revenue. It has a commission that includes a representative from lodging, attractions, retail, Chamber of Commerce, and 2 at-large businesses. They oversee and approve the spending and the annual budget, so there is no formal motion needed to be made by the council this evening. This was the proposed budget at this time last year. Projected net balance of 2020 is what I estimated at last year's budget approval. The proposed hotel revenue is estimating an average of $11,000 per quarter, just $4,000 more than what I proposed in 2021. At this point, I had not received the Q3 check prior to building the budget, so I projected on the leaner end. And if you want to go to the next one, please. Following the City Council presentation last year, I received the Q3 check for room tax, which was nearly the total I had budgeted for 2022. So I amended the marketing and advertising allocations and had the commission approve the amended budget as you see here. This budget allows for a $13,000 carryover, of which I was able to carry up to $22,000. Here is a graph representation on room tax revenue for tourism from 2004 on. Please note that this only reflects the 2 payments received thus far for 2022. As you can see, the nice jump in the revenue for 2021. Obviously, the largest distance between previous years and 2021 is the addition of the True by Hilton, which opened up in August of 2021. So just some advertising that I have done this past year. Spring advertising, I have a large window poster in the Beloit Travel Center, which sees thousands of travelers each year. I produced the 2nd edition of the Stoughton Wedding Guide, Wisconsin Special Events Planner, the highlighting Centennial Stoughton Fair, the Coffee Break, Victorian Holiday, and the 175th celebration, which we are currently in. I advertise in Spring Arts Guide and Fun in Wisconsin. The last 3 are all distributed by their producer, and they go to visitor services and rest stops. Another large part of the adventure with visitor services is bringing in group tours. Group tours are bustling this year. We had 6 coordinated efforts through visitor services, which brought in nearly 400 people to Stoughton, while a handful of others had direct contact, primarily with Liz Risa. And just as comparison, my first year in this role was in 2019, where we had 1 group tour that I worked with. So having 6 was a big deal. Their visits consist of Stoughton Opera House, Liz Risa, Sons of Norway, and sometimes they have some time to shop downtown. I'm working on a group tour calendar for predefined group tour dates to help alleviate some of the back and forth communication and planning with all these avenues. Another adventure is the Circle Wisconsin, which is a member organization I'm part of that connects host cities and attractions with travel companies. I attended a conference in March of 2019, which I met one of the tour leaders this year, and he actually brought 2 tours to us this year. So the first one had sold out for his June 1st tour, and he quickly had a second tour scheduled for September, which was the Overflow. So I will be planning on attending that conference again this spring to bring more group tours to town. I applied for a tourism grant through the Department of Tourism, in which I was able to fund 3 billboards. So in the Janesville area, I had 3 of them up, one with Visit Stoughton, and kind of the tagline is "Get out and explore." That's the lakeside view on the left-hand side. And then I had 2 other ones with taglines conveniently located between here and there. One was with our Velkomen billboard or mural, highlighting our Centennial activities, and then another one with the lake. Those were up between April through August. Next one, please. I am advertising in AAA magazine. So as you can see here, I get leads weekly. All those states have where I've been sending lead postcards to folks. So over 240 leads so far asking about what's going on in Stoughton. So I send them a postcard. Some more print. Oh, that's a copy of the postcard. So cute little too, some pictures. Some other print advertising I'm doing is I have the inside cover for Arts and Culture Guide supporting the Opera House. And the next, please. And I was doing some TV advertising with Channel 15 and the CW. So I had 2-week run covering our Scent of My Festival, and then another week run covering Coffee Break. I signed on with Sherpa this year. Sherpa is a Minnesota-based company that coordinates content creators and destinations. I signed on with 3 adventures for 2022. So the first guest stayed at Lake Higanza State Park and explored the trails in downtown and all the water activities in the area. The second was a guest for a coffee break festival, also exploring some downtown shops. And I have a third writer coming in this weekend, kind of highlighting the hidden treasures and artistic values of Stoughton, including a show at the Opera House. So their collaboration is writing and photography, which I can then use for content creation, promotions, and I get a new perspective on Stoughton to highlight. And then I put, here's some digital reach. So I'm working with a local representative through Haibu to help maximize my online reach and target marketing by display ads and social media ads. This shows kind of the all-time impressions, reaching nearly 600,000 views on Facebook and another 250,000 impressions through display ads. Just letting people know where Stoughton is and what we're about. Display ads are currently running that they highlight our choice shopping as a destination, and the current social display is on the right-hand side, highlighting weekend adventures to bring shoppers here. So I update these at least monthly. A little bit hard to see, but here's just kind of a recap of the digital reach that I'm getting through the Haibu company. Nearly 70 to 80,000 views each month. And just to tie in with that, some website analytics, Google Analytics, tracking to see what pages are popular, what can help as a landing page for the social and display ads I'm doing. A couple months ago, my Stay Sleep page was not in the top 10, so I redirected some of my advertising efforts to change to that. My Stay Sleep page is the directory page for the hotel accommodations here in town. And some more analytics showing the overall increase in website visitors. Top channels, organic search was 65.7% with 6,700 visitors in 2021. Versus this year, my organic search was 50,000, where I had about 9,000 visitors. So less percentage, but higher reach. And QR codes, so a QR code was on that postcard that I'm sending out to AAA leads, as well as some of the advertising avenues. Just did a quick scan on how many people are scanning. So we're having, in the past year or so, we've had 67 scan, just some of the medium I'm doing. Additional marketing from the latter part of this year, I had a page ad in the spring-October Brava highlighting the arts in Stoughton. So the top half was for Art Walk, and the bottom half was some of the art galleries here in town. I had a fall edition for the Wisconsin Arts Guide, which was the full Opera House schedule, and then the winter edition of Fun in Wisconsin, which just changed up some fall imagery from the Sherpa adventures that were here. And end of year marketing, so if you do get Brava, we have small town holiday sponsored content in this month's edition. It's November, December. Other towns that advertised were Janesville, Fox Cities and Appleton, Fort Atkinson and Beloit, so really nice to see Stoughton in there. Featured with this content is either, it's gift, if you can see, it's gift the unique holiday experiences. So either gift an experience or experience something and gift what you make. So visit Stoughton, gift the unique. And as I kind of mentioned before, some of the memberships that we're part of is Destination Madison or Visit Madison, that's Dane County Tourism. Destinations Wisconsin, which is statewide tourism, and then Circle Wisconsin is leading the destinations to those group tour travel. And with our memberships, a couple weeks ago, I led the ladies from the marketing and PR team from Destination Madison here in Stoughton. Our stops were planned to kind of mirror those advertising I was doing in Brava, unique experiences. So we visited Able Contemporary, Grand Inspired, the Opera House, Liv's Risa, Yahara Chocolate, Spry Whimsy, Overt Space Gallery and Gift, Viking Brew Pub. We had lunch from Cheezers and Main Street Kitchen. Through their visit, they were able to get some short videos for their social media channels and explore options for groups and create new partnerships. They launched a new tour, which is called Madison on Tap, which highlights the Dane County breweries and tasting treats. So they were able to talk to Vike Malling over at Viking Brew Pub and get him signed up. One of the ladies that night even signed her niece up for Children's Business Fair, which the Chamber hosted this past Saturday. So that was really fun. And they all agreed that Stoughton is pretty amazing, and they were all planning to make trips on their personal time. The current website I have, visitstoughton.com, launched in 2018, to which we've quickly outgrown the capabilities involved there. So I am working on updating a new website, just to have a little bit more admin friendly that I can update as needed. And a new facelift is always nice, so hopefully look for that launch soon. And with all the branding and promotion, I present the Visit Stoughton stickers. If you haven't seen them yet, I will set them on the table if you wish to have any. My intent with these were just to create something really fun and Stoughton, so it is a trace of the Opera House, also while not being too kitschy and cute that our retail stores can sell. So these are just kind of handouts that I can do for group tour packets, meetings and conferences, etc. So I bring you to the 2023 proposed budget. So with that, I have projected another $110,000, which is similar to what I did for the amended budget for this past year for city room tax. Special projects listed here is just small income for our wedding guide advertising. Administrative expenses are $22,800, and operational expenses are almost $85,000. The operational expenses include $57,000 in marketing and advertising, and then $7,000 in graphic design and photography. So again, this budget has been approved by the Visitor Services Commission, therefore no action needed by you guys tonight. And if you'd like to hear this all again with a little bit more recap of what I've done in 2018 to now, I am hosting the Chamber's Lunch and Learn on Monday the 28th. You city council representatives and city staff are all welcome to come. Please just email me to RSVP by this Friday. It will be at Sons of Norway with a delicious meatball lunch. Otherwise, I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions for Callie?
No, you're amazing. Thank you for all that you're doing.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Let me pull something else up here. All right. Next item is election update from the city clerk, and this would be Clerk Kristen. And I'll get it up on the screen here for you. There it is.
Thank you. It's pretty bare bones. Make it really quick because I know we need to move on. We had a 78% voter turnout last Tuesday. 6,927 people voted. The current population in the city is 13,204. Of that, 10,254 are of estimated voting age. So at the beginning of Election Day, we had 8,893 registered residents. About 87% of our voting population is registered. So we had another 529 residents register on day of the election. So overall, we sent out 2,498 absentee ballots. So that was, we handled every single one of those. 1,660 were returned by mail or dropped off in person, and another 701 absentee ballots were issued in person in City Hall. That was from October 25th to November 4th. And then I just kind of have a quick breakdown of each ward, how many absentees were returned from that ward, as well as the numbers of people that voted at the polls on Election Day. And I kind of, over in the right-hand column, you have some numbers from November 2020 just as a comparison, and it's completely flipped. You'll see, because of COVID at that time, our largest portion of votes were through the absentee ballots. So next page there, I just wanted to let you know that we've purchased 4 new DS200 machines. They're the tabulator, as you'll see when you go into the polling location, one for each location to handle the large volume of absentees. So we have one that's the voters turning their ballots into, and then the absentee ballots are going into the other machine. These machines are qualified and tested along with the other 4 DS200 machines and the 4 express vote machines. And they can be used as a general tabulator if one of the older machines that are 2017 models would happen to become unavailable on election day. We also are using the Badger books. This is the second election we've used them, and they've been well received and have decreased the time the voters may be spending in line. So we recognize that we could use a few more voting booths at each location as we have backups at that point. And I also want to give a shout out or a thank you to the police department and EMS for helping with the safety training for the election inspectors, as well as the police department helped us transport all of the absentee ballots to the polling locations from City Hall on election day. And also would like to extend a thank you to Public Works for helping the deputy clerk and I move all the equipment on to the polling locations the day before the election, and then they're back the day after. 7 a.m. we start both days, and they're ready to load everything. So just wanted to say we really sincerely appreciate everyone's help.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Candy? Hearing and seeing none. What we're going to do then is we're going to do the budget overview right before the public hearing. So that means we'll go right into the consent agenda. So at this time, looks like there's 4 different items in the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Jensen. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Reeves. Would anybody like anything on the consent agenda acted on separately tonight? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed. That motion does carry. Thank you very much. The next 2 items are coming from the Plan Commission, and these are both going to be second readings. And Alderperson Caravello.
Thank you. The first one is Ordinance 26 of 2022, which is approving a planned development, general development plan for lots 1, 3, and 4 within the 51 West development, and I so move.
And is there a second?
Second.
Did you catch that?
Was it me or
President Hirsch? Okay, I thought it was a tie. I didn't hear who was
It's
first.
okay.
Okay,
have to arm
any questions or comments on the ordinance? This is the one to basically take the fourplex, the quadplex lots out at 51 West on the west side and turn them into duplexes so we can have more density and more units. Any questions on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. Next item is Ordinance 27 of 2022, Alderperson Caravello.
And this is an ordinance amending section 78-015 and 78-105, repealing and recreating section 78-206, parentheses 7, parentheses C, and amending Appendix C to Chapter 78 of the Stoughton Code of Ordinances relating to mobile service support structures, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Schumacher. Alderperson Caravello, you want to explain this one?
That's exactly what I said it was. Simple as that.
This is a cell tower one, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the cell tower one.
Okay. Anything you want to highlight, or Director Shield, or?
I think the city attorney's office helped us through this at the first reading, and if there's other questions, we'd be available to answer them.
All right. Are there any questions from alders on this one? I think we covered it pretty well at the last meeting.
I think it just brings our ordinance into what state requirements are, so into a line with what they should have been. Basically.
Okay. Thank you. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Aye. And any opposed? That motion carries. Next item is the the budget presentation, and I just got a couple things I want to go through quick as part of that. And then I'll turn it over to Dave after I cue him up. So basically, what I just wanted to cover here, there are three quick slides that I put together just to kind of have everybody understand where we're on the budget. So,
Back to the election results.
all right. So in the 2023 city budget, really what I tried to do was four basic things. The first one is I want to maintain the programs that we have at all of our departments that we operate, whether it's the library, the PD, Public Works, and we want to make sure that all the programs and services that we provide here in the city we're able to maintain, and we also want to improve those services, and we do that in a variety of ways through equipment and obviously our personnel, which I'll talk about shortly. One of the things we want to do is invest in quality of life initiatives, and this really came up as we went through the whole pandemic, and a lot of this work we've been working on throughout that process anyway. The river and park and trail improvements that we're doing. ADA transition plan is being implemented in this budget. North Park Playground and baseball infield rehabilitation is included in this budget. Senior Center expansion and elevator will be done next year. We're going to upgrade some components at the skate park at Troll Beach as well, and then do a large section of the Virgin Lake Trail. And then we have pages of road projects that we're going to do. The road projects won't be quite as intense as they were this year as far as, including the utilities, but there's going to be a lot of roads that'll basically be repaved throughout this budget. So we're really excited. I think, if you look at our Public Works, they use a PACER rating to grade our roads, and we've seen quite a bit of improvement here in the last several years. And this one here is really going to, put us in the right direction, to continue upgrading the roads. As well as some planning that's going to be occurring with the DOT for their long-range projects. The other area I really wanted to highlight was our employees. A real emphasis of our operations budget this year is the retention of our employees. And what we did is we included, a 4% raise across the board. We'd like to do more to keep up with the cost of living, but the resources just aren't there. But we're trying to address them in other ways. What we've seen is wages have really increased in all lines of work, whether it's in the public or the private sector. We're competing with police officers, Public Works, as well as other departments, not only with the private sector, but as I mentioned, with the public sector, with the counties in the state of Wisconsin. The county and the state of Wisconsin, as I've mentioned before, they have additional revenue source in the city. The city's main revenue sources, you'll hear through Dave's presentation, is what we call net new construction. And that's basically the increased equalized value or increased property value for new construction minus anything that was demolition. So the county and the state has additional revenue sources, and the main one is the sales tax revenue. That's something that we don't enjoy here locally. You have to be a tourism town in order to implement a sales tax. So the county has been able to, in their budget, include much larger raises than we have. And then the state also has income tax that they collect. And as wages have gone up and prices have gone up, so have their revenues on income tax and on sales tax. And what I do is at the state level, I work with our state legislators, and we'll continue to advocate to give us more local control instead of the state, for example, really sitting on a huge surplus when municipalities like us are trying to provide services and grow our community, because we know there's a housing shortage in Dane County. Over 30% of the growth in the last 10 years have happened right here, even though we only have 9.5% of the whole state's population. We've accounted for 36% the total statewide increase in population. So Dane County is blowing up, and there's a housing shortage at all levels, and we're trying to make sure that we do our fair share to provide people that need a place to live and employment here in Dane County. And one of our challenges is to be able to do that and have enough money in order to take care of our employees and provide the services that we need and additional staffing we're going to need in order to support that growth. The other big thing we did is, thanks to our HR Director Gillingham, we're able to negotiate and maintain our current health insurance. And this is huge for our employees because it's one of the better benefits that we have. And with the rising cost of health care, you know, it's really tempting to switch providers, which may save you some money, but that money's just going to come right out of the pocketbook of our employees through deductibles and co-pays and really not have as good of a package. So we're able to do that. I'm pleased about that. Plus the disruption that it causes whenever you switch health insurance. Any of you that have had to do that in your workplace understand there's a lot of paperwork. You have to get new doctors. It's a big deal. So we're excited that we're able to do that and then do it without raising the employees' insurance premiums along the way. We also identified and made some wage adjustments, and thanks to our finance director, we're going to be positioned to look at some future wage adjustments to take care of those that we haven't been able to. We've been chipping away at it the last several years, trying to get our employees up to market rate so we can keep them. And that's been a real challenge, as I mentioned. So I'm excited about that. I'll stop for now, and then I'll get Dave queued up here to go through his presentation. And then after that, we'll open it up for the public hearing. All right, is that it?
That's it.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Swadley, Mayor Swadley. I timed myself and I got this down to 87 minutes, so keep an eye out for it. I promise not to speak that long. So next slide, please. Some of these slides are going to be the same as what you saw at the last committee of the whole meeting. Some are going to be new. This one's the same exact one. Mill rates going down by 9.02%, which would be a decrease of about $70 for each 100,000 in assessed values. Next slide, please. The equalized value, as you can see in the chart, we're off the reservation when it comes to past history. We had a record just like the rest of the state and Dane County. For ourselves, their equalized value went up 16.57%, which is a huge number. Next slide, please. Net new construction, however, that went up by 2.43%. Not as much, obviously, but 2.43% is a record for the city of Stoughton since we've started net new construction back in 12. So you'd think that we'd have a record amount of increase by that. And if you go to the next slide. This is very busy, but I just want to point you to the bottom number. Operating levy increase, $186,589 for the entire city in a record year. That's what net new construction statutory limits have been doing to us. Next slide, please. This is the same slide you saw before, just breaking down the property tax by department. And if you look at the top line, the police department is our largest department at 41.6% of the operating levy, almost $3.6 million. And then you got a substantial drop between the departments, public library being next. Next slide, please. Same slide that you saw before, but this breaks it down into the various categories for the property tax. No surprise, the public safety is our largest area for the property tax levy. Approximately 4.0% or $4.0 million, or 47.5% of the levy is either police, fire, or the planning department when it comes to the inspection. Department of Revenue classifies that as public safety also. Next slide. Now we get into total expenditures for the entire county, the entire city. Force of habit, I'm sorry. Total expenditures, $34.4 million. Now this does not include Stoughton Utilities, of course. So this is the same slide that you saw before. The only thing I added was the percentage column for the proposed, so you can see the breakdown in the various categories. Next slide, please. Same data, just in a pictorial form. Again, our total expenditures, excluding Stoughton Utilities. Largest expenditure, capital outlay, 32.6%. As I mentioned before, net new construction really isn't there. The statutes force us to issue debt, and we're no different than every other municipality and every county school district. We have to issue debt in order to provide services. After that, almost 30% of our expenditures is wages and benefits for the employees, and 17.4% is for all other operating expenditures. So you take capital out of the mix, our biggest cost is our employees, but we provide the services to the taxpayers. You need people to do it. That's the important thing. Next slide, please. Again, total expenditures, excluding Stoughton Utilities, just broken out in a little bit different way. When I talked about the property tax levy, public safety was the highest levy. But if you're looking at just the expenditure side, culture, recreation, and education is our highest area. Now, this includes both capital outlay and operations. The number is higher this year in culture recreation because of the bonding that we're doing, or proposed bonding that we're doing for the riverfront development phase 2. Public works is about 21.6% of our total expenditures, but if you look back at a previous slide, we hardly levy anything for public works, and that's because of the general transportation aids that we get in. But just on a pure expense side, 22% of our budget is for public works. All of our road construction is the biggest portion. The debt levy is only 15%, or debt, principal, interest, fiscal charge is only 15% of our total expenditures. So it's not out of line when it comes to all the other governments. And general government, like it or not, that's the overhead, and at about 8%, again, that's not out of line for what we have. You see, we've got two different categories that you don't see in the property tax levy. Storm sewer, about 3% of our expenditures is for that. Proprietary fund, which is off the tax levy. And emergency medical services, about 2.6% of our expenditures. Again, they're off the tax levy too. Next slide, please. Same slide that you saw at the Committee of the Whole meeting, a very high level recap of the capital improvement plan for 23 through 23-18. As a reminder, what you propose, the proposed budget for debt issue and capital outlay in 23, we actually start paying the debt service in 24. So there's always a 1-year lag which is why the numbers at the bottom for the budget year 24 projections are for estimated principal and interest. When we looked at the interest, when I did this maybe 45 days ago, I estimated interest at 5.5%. Right now, if I had to take a guess, I would estimate that our interest that we're going to be paying in 23 is probably 6.5%, and 24 is probably going to be 7.5%. Will it stop there? I don't know. Right now, my crystal ball is still in the repair shop, so it's not working too well. So if you guys have a working crystal ball, please let me borrow it. Next slide, please. Last slide. No change at all here. This is the numbers that you've seen before. As I mentioned, the storm sewer and refuse user fees are not on the tax levy at all. So those are charges to the users of those utilities. Again, Stoughton Utilities is not included in these numbers. But the actual charge per ERU equivalent units is for the storm sewer. It actually went down about 9 cents or 0.1%. And for the refuse, it went up by about $11 or a 5.8% increase. It's a larger increase than we'd like to see, but given that our vendor increased the cost to us by 9.5%, I don't think us increasing the cost to 5.8% is out of line. So again, these are off the levy, but we've got that information out there for you. That's really all I'm going to talk about in my 87 minutes. So if anybody has any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them now or later. If we have no questions, we can go into the public comment section.
Alderperson Hunt?
When you said that our construction growth was 2.43%?
Yes.
And then you mentioned that's by statute, we're forced to borrow. Could you explain that
essentially, yes.
Could you explain that a little bit more?
The statutes allow us to increase debt levy as much as we want, up to the statutory 5% of equalized value, and we're only at about 3.4%. So we've got a ton more room to go up. But we can only issue debt for non-operational items. So wages and benefits, the paper clips, what we pay the attorneys, all those operational items we can't issue debt for. And for those operational items, the legislature in 12 changed it so the increase is only based upon net new construction. So that's where that 2.43 comes in. That's calculated by the Wisconsin Department of Revenue based upon assessments and other magical numbers in their crystal ball. But, and I'll get on my soapbox for a minute here, the net new construction basically says this is the value of the new building or new home that we put in. It has nothing to do with inflation. Right now, inflation is running 8 to 10%. That's great, but when we have to deal with 8 to 10% inflation and the statutes say, yep, you can go up by 2.43%, what are we supposed to do? So therefore, like I said, we're forced to, the legislature essentially forces us to issue debt for as much as we can.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? Anybody
Thank
out
you,
in
everyone.
Zoomer land have any questions? Okay, I don't see any questions. So at this point, we'll close our regular meeting and then we'll reopen for the public hearing. And we have 2 people for sure that are signed up and been waiting patiently for the public hearing. Who wants to go first? Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Buck Sweeney. I'm an attorney with Ashley Law. I work out of the Janesville office. We have offices in Madison and Waukesha as well. I represent approximately 100 different residents, and primarily those are the residents are all along the river going upstream in Pleasant Springs and people around that area. The property owners, we've got to talk to experts, and their property values are going to go down substantially because of the water levels that are going to go down. But the real problem is you guys have had an expert say they're not going to go down, but they are going to go down. We've got an expert from Pleasant Springs that says they're going to clearly go down. A lot of it goes with what's called modeling, and you use modeling to determine what the elevations are going to be in water levels. But the data that you put in makes a lot of difference. We really don't know what's going to happen when you take out that dam. I went to the meeting, and President Hirschberg said they're putting in these bladders, which will try to keep the water levels up. That's a step in the right direction for a lot of the people that are going to be concerned with what goes down. But there's two major issues, and we've talked with the Army Corps of Engineers, and we've asked them to require an environmental impact study. All this, we think it's going to work. We don't think it's going to work. This is a major project that an environmental impact study really should be done before you take away my clients' property values that they've grown and they've grown to love their properties and the aesthetic value of these properties. That's something that you just can't take away. We've seen a lot of them. You've heard the kayakers say it's going to be pristine and Babbling Brook. I've worked on sites all over the United States, and there's been a lot of when a river goes down, you got sedimentation there, you've got muck, it stinks. There's a lot of sewer waste that's in that river. When you take that water table down, it's going to be a mess with the sediment. You've got one of the probably more contaminated sites in the state of Wisconsin. You're opening it up. You're going to have contamination of Unaroyal. Your $2 million is just a tip of the bucket. You could be spending $20 million and fighting with Unaroyal to try to get that. I would be scared to death of going anywhere and digging in that Unaroyal property. You're opening yourselves up for tremendous liability. An environmental impact study would help you. It would identify that, and maybe you redesign your project and say as far away as that property as you can, because that sediment is going to be a problem. And I've done this for 40 years and worked all over the United States on contaminated sediment sites. My people just want to have this done and do it right. Please do an environmental impact statement. Get this right. Don't make a mess. We also ask that you have a referendum. You've heard from people from all over that don't live in Stoughton. Ask your residents of Stoughton, what do they want? This will go on for several times. We plan to challenge any permit you get, so will it be an administrative hearing going forward? It won't take at least another year. So we request you do a referendum. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Sharon, you're up.
My name is Sharon Mason-Boersma. I'm a resident of the city of Stoughton. What do our taxes really pay for? Looking at the CIP proposed budget tonight, awareness should be made of almost $2 million proposed by the city to spend on the Yahara River Park, formerly known as the Whitewater Park. The city has spent nearly $1 million of tax dollars for this site in 2022. Historically, how did the idea of a Whitewater Park begin? Leadership roles of the Park and Rec Department led the torch, from the former director to the present director, Dan Glenn. Continuing this path, the steering committee was formed with local business owners, city council members, Dane County Park reps, and local residents. Discussions were keep the Stoughton Dam, later remove it for a Whitewater Park, or better yet, restore it. Latest suggestion, more expensive and complicated bladder lift gates for faster water flow. Remember, permits from the DNR and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers are needed and necessary for this project to happen. In January 29th of 2020, Dan Glenn presented to the public a slideshow about the Whitewater Park in Manchester, Iowa, noting fun, recreational, kayaking, fishing imagery. He said he would leave his fishing pole in the trunk of his car to prepare for fishing like this on the Yahara River. He does not reside in Stoughton. He said expenses for a Whitewater Park would be covered by fundraising, grants, in-kind and private donations, and rental operations. How many have you visited the Whitewater Park in Manchester, Iowa, to evaluate the frequency of use, the water level issues due to climate change, and seeing tubing with very few kayakers in July of 2021? When my husband and I went there on a warm, sunny weekend day in July, we saw a total of about 5 cars in the parking lot. In 2022, now Mr. Glenn frequently refers to the Huron River Ann Arbor Whitewater Park as a model for Stoughton. In January, listening to a virtual meeting with Ann Arbor director, I learned operational expenses combined with a large workload consists of multiple city service staff making 911 calls, rules for training, getting life jackets, procuring liability and risk management for their operation, and considering a nonprofit to take over this operation. 2 people in the state of Oregon recently died at a whitewater park there. Tubing was the favored sport in Ann Arbor. My point, has the city really thought through cost and financial outcome of this project? Their prediction, a whitewater park will draw thousands of tourists and bring incredible revenue to our town in a report on 2018. Today, what has COVID, inflation, climate changes, and other factors done to our pocketbooks and the economy? Remember, the city ignored holding a public town hall meeting and a referendum on this issue. Pleasant Springs has opposed Stoughton Dam removal Whitewater Park build. Please keep city government accountable to prevent projects that are expensive, short-sighted, speculative, and dangerous. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's all we had signed up for the public hearing tonight. Next order of business would be our budget, and I'll pull up. The first one is going to be Resolution 205 of 2022, and that would be from Stoughton Utilities. And I think Alderperson Hunt, did you want to introduce that one?
Sure. As soon as I can find my screen back here.
I'll try to get it up here for you. I'm just about there.
Where did you go?
There she be.
The resolution 205-2022 authorizing and directing the proper city officials to approve the Stoughton Utilities 2023 budget and 5-year 2023 through 2027 capital improvement plan, and I would move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by President Hirsch. Anything you want to highlight or discuss, or?
I guess the one thing I would highlight is the difficulty of maintaining good employees requires, and this budget reflects that, an increase that would allow the utility to retain their people. Many times we have hired and lose people quickly because there's higher wages being paid within 20, 25 miles of here. So if there's any one item in there that really has proven necessary, it is the increased wages in order to keep our personnel.
All right, thank you. And we have Director Weiss and Finance Manager Stats here as well, if you have any questions. Anything you want to highlight, Jill or Shannon?
We did a presentation last meeting, so I don't know if there's anything that anybody would like us to go back over. We'd be happy to do that, and we'd also be happy to field any questions.
Are there any questions from alders? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion does carry. Okay, item number 10 is Resolution 210 of 2022, and we have an updated one here on a yellow sheet. And is that something you can put on the screen, Dave?
Yes.
I'll
if
stop
you
sharing
could,
and
yep.
you can share your screen. So this is one that is a CIP plan for Public Works. And my understanding is it really comes down to the fact that the cost of the vehicles continue to climb as we speak. As we talked about during the CIP process and even the budget process, that some of the numbers would be fluid because of the supply chain issue And I think this is an example of that. Anything you want to cover as far as in the actual document before we introduce it, or Director Abear?
Yeah, like you said, this is just reflective of the state contract pricing increases over time. As I told the finance committee, we're actually doing a lot of the build of the body of the trucks ourselves in-house with our own staff to save money on these builds. Essentially, we're saving about $15,000 per build by doing the fitting of the bodies on the chassis in-house. So we're just trying to save every dollar we can. Unfortunately, the state contract pricing continues to increase, just like the general market has. So this is just reflective of that.
So we can look. All right. Are there any questions for Director Abear on this one? Otherwise, Alder Majewski, are you in a position to introduce this one, or should I have somebody in the room do it?
Would you please have somebody in the room that I can't seem to find it?
Okay. All right, that's fine. Who would like to do that?
I'll do so, Mayor.
Okay, Alderperson Schumacher is going to introduce it.
All right, R210 of 2022 is a resolution to amend the 2023 proposed capital improvement plan budget for public works. So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any questions or comments on this one?
The trucks?
Yeah, this is for the vehicles. All right.
Buy them quick before they go up in price.
So just so you know, we did already issue the POs. If you were to not approve that tonight, we would take those back. POs have been issued to the block bid.
Yeah.
Good move.
When will they be delivered? Or should Dave?
You tell me. Well, when Dave finds his crystal ball, he can let us all know.
Oh, that's a sad truth. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed. That motion carries. All right, so the next one is Resolution 208 of 2022. And this is the one that went through the Committee of the Whole. And I would have President Hirsch introduce this one here.
That one up.
Yeah, I'll pull it up right about.
I can't find it.
There we go.
So, Resolution 208 of 2022, the Committee of the Whole recommended approval 10-1 at 10/19/22. This is the property tax levy. I think, oh, don't scroll down. This includes the capital improvement plan and the budget as a whole, right?
Correct. It includes both operational and capital expenditures, excluding Stoughton Utilities. Based upon the resolution that you just passed, the numbers are going to be 16,050 higher, which means total expenditures 34,407,876.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, and I so move.
Is there a second? I'll second. A second by Alderperson Jensen. Anything you want to discuss, President Hirsch?
Well, I want to commend, all the staff that put the budget together, and Dave for working his magic, and all the directors for really being thoughtful in what they put in the budget, both for the CIP and for the operating expenses. I mean, we really, I think, looked at things, we discussed things thoroughly. And thank you, council, for really being thoughtful and present at all the meetings that you had to attend to try to go through this. And I think we have, and the mayor too, for putting together a really good mayor's budget. I think we got the best that we can with the limitations, as Dave has outlined, of what we can do. Again, I really look forward to working with, the mayor and AJ and Dave and others to try to continue on with the right sizing of the rest of our employees. I think we're moving forward. We're moving this, city of Stoughton forward, and I thank everybody for all that they did to make this happen. So I encourage you to vote yes on this expansive budget.
Thank you. Alders, any other alders? Alderperson Hunt?
I have a question. Based on our presentations, the communications from our community tonight, there may be difficulty moving forward with the water park in the upcoming year. And I was wondering, if we vote yes on this, would we still have an available conversation about should we borrow the money that we expected to use this year? Or should we maybe wait one additional calendar year on the borrowing? At 6.5%, if we borrow nearly $2 million, that can be fairly costly if we're not able to use the money. It would just be sitting there. So
sure.
I was just hoping that we could still have a conversation about how much of a bond would we want to issue if we find ourselves legally prohibited from moving forward.
Sure. Well, I'll start out and then I'll let the finance director answer the rest of your question. Basically, as you recall, a few years ago, we kind of adjusted when we actually borrow the money for our capital improvement part of our budget. We used to borrow it immediately or shortly thereafter the budget was approved. Now we basically borrow it in the spring and we give our financial consultants kind of the latitude, the range, so they can go in there and secure the best interest rate on the day that it makes the most sense. So I wouldn't anticipate doing the borrowing until the spring anyway. We'd have to go through that process and really determine, if we're going to borrow for it all or part of it, or if there's other sources coming in through grants and those types of things to really dial in that number. If we borrow it too early, there's a chance that you might not expend it all anyway, or the numbers may change. So anything you want to add to that, Director Alinger?
Just to add to that, it's basically a two-step process. The budget actually puts the authorized expenditure saying you can spend this. But then in the budget, we assume that we're going to issue debt. You're going to have another kick at the can because the council has to actually approve a debt resolution written by bond counsel, in this case Quarles and Brady. As the mayor indicated, we work with Ellers, our financial consultant, to make sure that we're trying to get the best bang for the buck. But bottom line, yes, you get another conversation as to whether you wish to issue debt, and that's, of course, in the process, Finance Committee would be involved. If the Finance Committee has the desire, they can propose changes to the dollar amounts or anything like that.
Okay.
And I would just add, based on where we're at in the process of the water park, I'm sure that's the concern, is, we anticipate having a recommendation coming to the council here, I believe, next month. And based on that recommendation, if that's approved, then that would be forwarded to the DNR for their consideration. And my understanding is they would make a determination on whether they would, approve our plan within, what was the time period, like
30 to 75
days. 30 to 75 days. So we should have a decision from the DNR well before the time we would actually look to borrow the money. So that's kind of a rough outline, and you will hear about the proposed improvements, I think, at the next council meeting, is what I understand. I wasn't at Park and Rec because I was here for finance.
Yeah.
Was there a recommendation that came out of that?
Yes, there was.
Okay.
And so it will, just because the plan just, the 90% plan just got done this weekend, and the steering committee looked at it yesterday, was passed to Park and Rec, and so it'll be on the December docket for the council. We just didn't want to overload you guys tonight. I think people want to get out of here before midnight, and so we can always amend at that time, but it came highly recommended from both those groups.
Okay. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, no, as long as there's an opportunity to adjust in case something would suggest we're not able to utilize the money, we could wait a year and borrow it when things are clearer.
Certainly, we certainly wouldn't want to borrow the money unless we intend on spending it. It's actually a lot of extra work for the finance department to roll it over from year to year. They do not encourage that, and that's pretty consistent with multiple finance directors that I've dealt with, whether it's the city or the school district, and I'm sure utilities is the same way. It just creates more work.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anybody else have any questions? I see Alder Majewski, you're unmuted right now. Did you have a question?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you did. Anybody else have a question on this? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution say aye.
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 And any opposed? Any abstentions?
That was an aye. Had myself muted.
Oh, okay. That motion carries. All right, thank you. Next item is R 209 of 2022, and this one here is coming from, I believe it came through public safety, or did it come through finance? Both.
Yeah.
Who would like to introduce this one? And this is a 2022, so it's this year's item for this year's budget.
I'll field it, Mayor.
All right, go ahead.
R 209-2022 is a resolution to amend the 2022 adopted budget for Emergency Operations Center funding. So moved.
Second.
And I had a second by Alderperson Jensen. And you want to go over this one for us, please?
This one is to utilize some money that was designated for the preemption devices and use this for kind of building out a proper emergency operations center. Chief, you want to add anything into that, or?
No, we, again, we recognize the fact that we don't have a emergency operations center set up, and part of our planning includes a lot of what-if scenarios, and as we recognize the fact, right now, if we have a major event, we really don't have a centralized command center where we can disseminate information and get it out to the troops and kind of just follow everything in one area. So just realizing that made us think, well, how could we do it? And looking at the $10,000 that was allocated for the traffic preemption, we discounted those right away and thought this would be money better spent and leave us in a lot better place in the event of an emergency or a pre-planned event where we can have a unified command presence.
All right, any questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
And, okay, and any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. R 211, that one's coming out of finance, Alderperson Schumacher.
R 211-2022 is a resolution to amend the 2022 adopted budget for ARPA funds for Innovation Center Stoughton. So moved.
Do a second.
Second.
Second by Alderperson Hunt, Alderperson Schumacher.
Dave, do you want to address this one a little bit?
Sure.
We're just saying we got a resolution to say we're going to do that, and now we're just.
And now we're just allowing it in the budget to do it, because the Innovation Center's treasurer has requested the $125,000. It's scheduled to get paid out on Thursday, so we'd like the budget to reflect it.
Perfect.
And the Innovation Center has indicated that they would collect the money and then they can possibly still use that for a match. And they're in the process of hiring a director so they can begin programming. And this will, help is seed money to get the operations up and running. Any questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And any opposed?
No.
There was one no. Good job. Okay. Was that Alder Luckaki?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, that motion does carry. Next item is Viking Snowdrifters 2022-2023 trail proposal. This one came from Public Safety. Alderperson Jensen, it did snow today, didn't it? So the timing of this is perfect. I don't know if they'll be getting their sleds out, but we have somebody that's been waiting patiently for this one.
I know, he's been very patient.
Alderperson Jensen.
Thank you. Yes, this is a proposal, let's see, it came through Public Safety. It's something that they have to do every year, just to get the city to approve the use of property that is within the city district, the city proper. The Public Safety Committee approved this on a 6-0 vote, recommending to council. There were no issues that we know about. All the documents are in order. And Chief, here, if you want to have anything on it, can I have a second?
All right, you want to make the motion?
Make the motion, Greg.
Oh, that is my motion, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'll second.
And a second by President Hirsch. Anything you want to add, Chief?
No, it's a well-established club. They encourage safety with their riders. They've been around forever. They provided us everything we need to know, including a little more detailed map. So no issues at all.
All right. Anything you want to say on behalf of the group? As long as you spent half your night with us? You can come up to the podium and introduce yourself. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Trails can't legally open till December 10th.
Oh, okay. So the snow can wait.
The snow can wait, and ground isn't getting any more frozen with snow laying on top of it, so. I guess that's all I got to say, and thank you for your time.
All right.
I have a question. Do any of the new roundabouts, like by Roby Road, going to interfere with that crossover at all?
Not this year. No. We're going to cross. Does she have a new map?
Yeah, there is the map in the.
Okay.
It shows where
You changed where you crossed over.
Is it this map here?
Keep going.
There's one more.
Next one? All right.
we cross at Ace Hardware. We cross over to Quick Trip. And then we cross back over if they want to go down to BBG's.
But that goes right through, by Ace Hardware goes right through the new roundabout, right?
Yeah, here we go.
And so they're gonna go around the roundabout, or how are they?
We're not gonna drive on the pavement. We're gonna cross Deer Road or Deer Park Road or
Deer Point?
Deer Point.
Yeah. So there's a map up there on the screen. So Deer Point's to the north there, so Stoughton Lumber would be kind of, yeah, to the northeast of 51 there, and you can see the pond across the street from Stoughton Lumber.
Yep. Okay.
So getting to be more challenging for you guys to find a trail?
Yes, so with all the new seeding and matting that went down, I was really hesitant on even bringing the trail down to as far as BBG's. But a couple of guys reminded me we have to have at least 6 inches of snow, and so that should help alleviate that problem.
Okay. All right, are there any questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. All right, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, the next two items, we have to renumber these next two, but I'll get them on the screen and we can change that as part of the motion. The first one, it says ordinance 26 is actually going to be ordinance 30, because we already used 26 and 27.
Want to be 28?
We already have 28 and 29 are coming down the agenda, so we just left them two and changed these two.
Okay.
So this one is actually going to be ordinance 30 of 2022, right? And this will come from, this one came from a first reading. Actually, the next four are first readings, all from public safety. So Alderperson Jensen, you want to introduce this first one?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. This will be ordinance 30 of 2022. Let's see, amending chapter 70-222 of the City of Stoughton Municipal Code by adding section 16 relating to control intersections on Washington Street and 4th Street. I would move for approval.
It's first reading.
First, well, excuse me, yes, first reading, sorry.
It's all right.
Getting ahead of myself.
That's okay. Chief, do you want to take us through this one, or?
Yeah, sure. This was actually something that was a citizen request, was it not? Or it was.
Greg, you gotta speak a little bit louder into
It
the mic.
was a citizen request, and definitely a public safety issue. It's about a block from the middle school. A lot of pedestrian traffic in the area, and so it was determined that the stop signs would be needed to control the area better.
Is that gonna be a four-way stop sign, or?
I believe it's just a two-way, wasn't it?
No, it would become, so now the traffic on 4th Street, the north and south travel is, they stop on 4th Street at Washington.
Yes, they do.
The concern was pedestrians, particularly school-agers, walking across the intersection with that heavy volume both morning and afternoon. A parent had brought it to us saying that she had a near miss in her vehicle, and we started looking at it, and it definitely is a problem area with just the amount of traffic, and the vision for for drivers and pedestrians is pretty challenged there. The crosswalks, as you can see, are really well marked, but I believe putting stop signs would really help. It's just such a high volume area before and after schools, and then even on Sundays, which I haven't witnessed, with the church traffic as well. That First Lutheran, which is on the northeast side of the photograph.
Okay, so this one is a first reading. Are there any questions? If not, this one will be back at the next council meeting.
I got one comment.
Oh,
in there,
sure,
Mayor.
go ahead.
I'm happy to see this. If something wasn't gonna go on this one, I was gonna bring this one into public safety also, having to, drop off daily in there. It's a challenge at that one. Said my only alternate that I would have suggested for it would be, instead of a north-south stop, have an east-west stop. Cause then you can keep that traffic flow out there, because most of the kids are walking north-south. So there isn't a lot of left and right turns off of there. It's mostly straight shots out. Your left and right turns take place on, I forget what the street is, right in front of the admin building. North Street, yep. Those are most of your left and right turns on that one, at least coming out of the school. But otherwise, everyone's a pretty straight shot out of there.
Considered like a through, I can't remember exactly what that.
Through Street?
Yeah,
You're
it's a
talking about
through
West
street, through street, yeah.
Or Washington?
Washington, yeah.
I'm good with the four-way. I think
anyways,
that's
yeah,
fine. I think that
four-way's
solves
fine.
the problem overall.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions now on this one? If not on all of these, if something comes up between now and the next meeting, you can either contact myself or Chief Jenks. Next item is going to be, this one is going to turn into ordinance 31 of 2022, and this one is also from Public Safety as a first reading.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ordinance 31, 2022, amending section 70-176, parent 89, no parking anytime on the west side of East Street from Garden Avenue north 500 feet. And this is a first reading.
All right, and you want to cover this one here?
If you look at the picture, you can see that this is a very narrow street, and to negotiate the corners there, it becomes very problematic for the street department as well as EMT, fire, and police. So it's something that we looked on as definitely a public safety issue, and we'd appreciate when this comes back that you vote for it.
All right, did you guys have public hearings on these?
Did we have a public hearing on it?
No, I'm just curious. I don't know if we typically do on these. Okay. And do you know if there's is there any capacity issues for street parking if we limit it?
Well, I think if you move that up a little bit to the north there, well, actually, that would be to the south.
That's all for that way or this way?
There, you can see there's one car parked there, and you've got barely enough room for two people to get, or two cars to go past there. If you try and run a fire truck through there and there's people parked along there, or you try and run EMS, it's just a nightmare. That is, it's a short, I think it's only like about 2 blocks, maybe 3 blocks long. Yeah, if we're, of course we could have a public hearing on it, but
I'm just kind of curious. I just wondering if there's an alternative place for these vehicles to park. Or if they can park on this other road. I don't know what the parking is there.
Can you zoom out just a little bit?
I can try.
Well, that's Garden and then scroll down a little. So that kind of shows this big problem area. So that's Maple going to the east. And Maple ends in a dead end, so any larger vehicles can't like drive through or turn around. They have to back out. So that's where part of the problem, and that's where Streets brought it to me, and Fire agreed with their rigs when they go up the street, and plowing is probably the best example. They have to back down, and keep in mind they not only is it a big truck, but with the plow on, they have a really tough time negotiating that turning that apparatus around either way.
Okay.
And when I look at it, each of the residents that would be affected by the no parking, they do have driveways.
All right. Okay, that answered my question. Anybody else have any?
No, just that I would concur. This is a neighborhood I'm familiar with in my district, and it's, I think as you mentioned, it's narrow anyway. So under the best of circumstances, even if there's not bad weather, it's not that easy to get through. So I think it's a wise move.
All right.
We like to see the drone images. Those are always really helpful at being able to pinpoint where this is.
All right, hearing nothing further, we'll go to the next one, and the next one is, if I click on the right one, that one's not opening for me. All right, ordinance 28 of 2022. This one is on Greenbrier Drive in Nygaard. Alderperson Jensen, you want to talk about this one?
thank you. That's ordinance 28, 2022, amending chapter 70-176 of the City of Stoughton Municipal Code by creating subsection 8, parent 89, related to no parking anytime, both sides of Greenbrier Drive, between US Highway 51 and Nygaard Street, and this is for first reading.
All right, apologize, it won't let me open this one up, but Greenbrier is the new road out on the end of, in the new development. So Rodney, you wanna just,
Yeah, I think this was one of our requests. This is the new segment off of 51 that serves the 51 west on the east side of 51. We thought it was important to get this restriction in place prior to the apartment complex being completed on the south side of that roadway. You'll recognize there's actually a dedicated turn lane, so there's a fair amount of traffic that's probably going to utilize this access point, and we think it's appropriate to not have parking on either side at this point.
okay, thank you. And I assume the chief concurs?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, sorry I couldn't show off your aerial of this one. I've seen it before, though. All right, any questions or comments on this one? If not, we'll go to the next one. The next one is ordinance 29, and this one also is from Public Safety.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ordinance 29, 2022, amending Chapter 70-322 of the City of Stoughton Municipal Code, Parent 1, establishing a 35-mile-an-hour speed restriction sign on Highway 51, both directions from Whole Avenue to a point 700 feet north of Roby Road.
All right,
For a first reading.
okay. Who wants to give the history of this one, Chief or Director Shield?
I'll start by just giving you the synopsis. Certainly, there's been a lot of discussion about lowering the speed limits along Highway 51. We had, as a city, requested the DOT to do so, as you might recall. Now that the DOT has transferred the connecting highway limits to the city after the roundabouts have been completed, the city now has jurisdiction over the speed limit in this corridor. So it affords you the opportunity to reduce it to 35 as you had once requested.
Thank you. Long time coming.
Probably the sooner the better, huh? Any questions or comments on this one?
How far up does 700 feet get us?
700 feet.
Essentially, you're pretty close to 700 feet. Just to the north end of the roundabout taper, so on north side of Roby, essentially where the concrete work is stopped, or the project stopped for the roundabout project.
Okay.
Sorry, Ben. It's 9:15. I'm getting a little punchy.
They'll get even with you. All right, any questions or comments on this one?
I was wondering, because of the Rutland-Dunn intersection, and it doesn't reach that far, does it?
Yeah.
Correct, it does not. And our connecting highway limits, that's really the limitation on it. Actually, I think there might have been some challenges reducing it that much farther out at this point because of the approach speeds. I don't think the drivers would be too accustomed to being able to drive 35 in that corridor, at least in that segment. But the DOT does not afford us that authority to reduce it up to Rutland-Dunn Town Line Road at this point.
I have a question. Rodney, when that development is done past Rutland-Dunn and the Linwood property, then the city have all the way to Highway B jurisdiction that we can reduce the speed limit once it gets that far, or are we just stuck with that?
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of opportunities for the city to be involved in the design, as you know, is being reconstructed as a boulevard beginning in 2026, essentially out to Highway B and beyond. So that would be urbanized out to County B. I think we'll have an opportunity to really encourage that. You might also recall we submitted a request to have them use as a design speed in that corridor 35 miles per hour. So they are using that design speed in their design planning for that segment all the way to County B. So I think we're going to be able to capture that, but not until that time, probably 2026.
Thank you.
I have a 2 cents worth if anyone would entertain it.
Sure.
Even though it only goes 700 feet north of Roby Road, Roby Road has been a devastating intersection on Highway 51 for the last number of years. I am totally in support of this, and I would strongly urge you to please pass this. it's an intersection that really does need a lowered impact speed limit. So that's my 2 cents worth as the director of EMS.
Thank you. And I was gonna make a suggestion or offer up, would you guys be willing to waive the rules on this one so we could take action tonight?
Absolutely.
We would have to have a motion to do that and then pass that on a
I'd
two-thirds
make the
vote.
motion to waive the rules.
I'll
All right.
second that.
Motion by Jensen, a second by Hirsch to waive the rules. I don't believe we can have discussion on that. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. So Alder Jensen, you want to make the motion to approve this?
Okay, that would make the motion to, let's see, get back up here.
You gotta talk up, Greg.
Yeah. Ordinance 29, 2022, amending Chapter 70-322 of the City of Stoughton Municipal Code, Parent 1, establishing a 35-mile-per-hour speed restriction sign on Highway 51, both directions from Whole Avenue to a point 700 feet north of Roby Road, and I would move for approval.
Second.
Second by Alderperson Hirsch. Any discussion on this one?
No, it's
All right.
been a long time
Oh,
coming.
God, yes.
And it's been, as Director Lisa has said, it's been a nightmare for a long time, and I'm very happy that the nightmare is possibly ending.
All right.
If I may, Mayor. This is
Sure.
Brett.
Go ahead, Brett.
So since it's passed, I'll check our inventories to see what we have for 35-mile-an-hour signs. If we don't have them, I'll have to order them. Then we'll get those in. We'll get all the locates put together. I think there's already posts out there from the county. We just got to check our inventories to make sure we have 35-mile-an-hour signs. If not, I'll get those ordered tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 And any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. Next item, item 19 is coming from CACP, and Alder Venegas is absent tonight. Who would like to introduce this one?
I can.
All right, Alderperson Reeves. Well, you can just make, oh, it's right. We don't have a resolution, but it's on the agenda.
Yeah, so this would be discussion and possible action regarding the park naming. And at our meeting on November 1st, CACP recommended approval of the Greg Standard Park for the 51, and this is the West Park. And there's some information in the packet, and others on CACP can jump in, but from what I understand, this was sort of a grassroots effort by this gentleman's family and friends. I think he passed away in August of 21 at a fairly young age. And Chief may have some additional information, but from what I understand, the police department, and I hope you'll correct me if this is right or wrong, but renamed their Citizen of the Year award after this gentleman.
Yes.
So maybe if you have some insight into that.
Yeah, Greg was a real popular guy throughout the community. He graduated from one of our Citizens Academy. At one point, he earned the Citizen of the Year award. He helped apprehend a guy that was up to no good, I'll just say. And he just was a fabulous friend of ours. Of the police department, and recognizing what he had done in the short amount of time he was with us, we renamed the award in his honor. His family has also been very supportive. Numerous members of his family have graduated from our Citizens Academy as well.
Yeah, and if you know, like I said, there's a lot of information in the packet, but if you read through some of those, his family and friends seem pretty passionate about it, and we just didn't find a reason not to, to honor him. And then there's opportunities for other park naming in other parks in the future, but this is the only one that we talked about that evening, and so.
All right, so did you want to make the motion?
Yeah, so I would make the motion to name the park for the 51 West Side Park, Greg Standard Park. And I would move for approval.
To a second.
I'll second.
Second by Alderperson Jensen. And I would just add, I did attend the Citizens Police Academy with Greg. He was very popular. And I wanted to take a moment to thank the IT department. We had well over 100 submittals for park names for both sides of the park, and they were able to help me get this on a spreadsheet so I could sort it out and consolidate it and try to make it as easy as I could for the committee to understand all the submittals. The second page kind of gives some of the reasons that people gave for the various names that were submitted as well. Alderperson Jensen?
Yeah, would it not be more appropriate then to name it a memorial park? Greg Standard Memorial Park?
I don't know if that's, I mean, I suppose we could, you know, I don't know his family personally. I think what they were saying is, but I mean, I think that makes sense. I don't think they would object to that. I don't know if we want to.
I'd make that as an amendment. Make it excuse me, Greg Standard Memorial Park.
I mean, that makes sense to me. So I would.
Can you make it maybe contingent on the family's blessing?
Agreement.
Okay,
I would second that.
all right.
Well, our recent precedent with the Carl Sampson Park, we didn't name that as a memorial park. I don't think it's particularly necessary as an addition.
Okay.
I don't think there are too many parks named after folks who are still around.
Somewhat redundant.
Any other comments on the amendment?
I don't have a strong feeling one way or
Okay.
the other. I think.
Well, it'll be contingent on the family's blessing, so if there's no other comments, we'll vote on the amendment and see what happens.
Yeah.
All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
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 And any opposed?
No.
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 I heard 3 no's. Does that sound right?
2 or 3, yeah.
So the no's were, one more time. It was Hiley,
No.
Caravello, and who was the third one?
Legaki.
Thank you.
So that's to take off the memorial part of it.
Well, that was, to add it on was
That was added on.
the motion.
Make it a memorial.
Then I'd like to change mine to no also.
Yeah, then me too.
4, that's 5. Is that what you have? Did you get,
Yes.
okay.
Fine, yep.
Okay, so that motion would be 6-5. That motion would carry. So that would take us back to the original motion as amended. So the original motion was the Greg Standard Park. As amended, it would be Greg Standard Memorial Park contingent on the family's blessing. That would be the motion. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 And any opposed? That motion carries. All right, thank you. We have one item remaining. That would be a closed session item for the police union contract negotiations. Anything that we would want to discuss before we go into closed session? You want to just kind of, AJ, maybe you can hand this out, tell us where you're at in the process, and then we'll go into closed session
In the process of.
of the negotiation.
Oh, okay.
I can hand them out.
I think we need, Mayor, I think we should have like a 5-minute break.
Okay, we'll do that after we vote for closed
Yep.
session.
Yep.
So you just want an update, Tim?
Yeah, just
Okay.
give us an update where you're at.
Okay.
And then, because that's,
So, to start the process, Chief Jakes and I sat down and went through kind of what our plans were in regards to compensation, and then held a meeting with our employment attorney to discuss the contract itself, the fact that we were looking for a 2-year contract this time, and some of the recommended changes that we have for the contract. So we are scheduled, or we're scheduled to meet next week, Monday. That's actually being pushed off a week. And at that point, we will come to the table and see what their demands are.
And at that point, we will give what we are willing to offer. So that's where we're at as of right now.
All right, and the purpose of the closed session is to get some direction from the council?
I need some direction from the council,
All right.
absolutely.
Is there anything else we should be asking at this point, Matt, or can we go into closed session? We haven't heard from you all night.
Yes, it's up to you. You can go in when you're ready.
I thought somebody wanted to take a break.
We'll take a break after we go into closed session.
Okay, got it.
Somebody want to make the motion and read the closed session language?
Sure. The common council may convene in closed session per state statute 19.85, parent 1, parent E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever a competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. And I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Reeves, and this takes a roll call vote. Candy, whenever you're ready.
Okay, Hiley.
Aye.
Hirsch.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Wagaki.
Aye.
Mayeski.
Aye.
Reeves.
Aye.
Hunt.
Aye.
Schumacher.
Aye.
Mikulski.
Aye.
Caravello.
Aye.
Raff.
Aye.
So 11 others.
All right, we're going to take a few minutes and then we'll go into closed session.